Listeners, we're back with another What's Happening in the World of Tech and all other things related to mortgage. We've got Pavan here with us, and also joining him today is John Brumund. I'm looking forward to having you, John, share a story in just a minute about the developments that are happening. And Pavan shared with me a video testimony. I want to get into that in just a minute. But Pavan, you have been traversing the world. You've been going around. And in this podcast today, I want to get your perspective on what you're seeing on a global basis, global events that are going on. And then what are you seeing? There's some exciting news. We're going to get into this a little bit later after we talk to John about some of the developments that are happening with other countries and other foreign investors wanting to get into our bond markets, into our investing in mortgage-backed securities, and creating even some new products. So very exciting content today, listeners. You want to stay tuned all the way through. But let's get started. John, good to have you with us. And I want to talk about this. Pavan sent me a video while I was flying home this week from Orlando. I was at a conference over there, and it told the story of a guy who started using AngelAi, and he went on and on. John, tell us about this individual and the story.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was a fun day. We spent a day at a really big broker shop out in Orange County. And we walked around the day and met a lot of people. And interestingly, a lot of the people that we talked to had been using AngelAi. And a lot of them were using it for tax returns and for bank statements and all the things that we allow people to do in the system, right? So you can upload documents in landlines or tax returns. And then we went to dinner, and I was talking to Daniel, one of the owners of Westcap. And Amir walked over to me and goes, "Oh my gosh, man." He goes, "I love this system. It's amazing." And he started telling me this story about how he closed a 524 credit score in 3 weeks and our pricing and all the things that were amazing. He goes, "I just can't believe, I love this company. I love this technology." And I said, "Hey, would you mind if I grabbed a recording of that? Because I wish somebody would have recorded what you just said to me. It was amazing. It was so powerful." And he was so gracious. He went out, he said, "Of course, let's do this." And so we did that. And there was more stories like that, but I thought that was a really powerful story.
Well, there's two aspects of it. First of all, the credit score, it was low. And your system still found a way to get him. So there were several aspects of the story. First of all, because of the cost savings that you guys at SunWest are able to do as a result of implementing and using AngelAi, you're able to now go significantly under, apply that cost savings to your pricing. Talk about that, because you offered, if I heard him, you were 3/4 of a point under everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our manufacturing cost is so low that we're able to pass that savings on to our broker partners, and especially on the government business. I think it was an FHA loan that he was talking about. And so our pricing is significantly lower due to the fact that we have AngelAi and our manufacturing costs are so low. That was just one aspect, like you said, of the conversation. But it was.
And then it also talked about how he was able to get this done so much more quickly.
Yep.
And talk a little bit about that. This was unsolicited. That's what I love. I love these organic, unsolicited testimonies. And it's a great way to start off when we're talking with Pavan here in just a minute about what he's created, John.
Yeah, it was. That was the best part of it, right? He walked up to me and said, "Man, I just love this." I had never met him. It was the first time I ever met Amir. He's a great guy. And he was just pumped. We're really starting to build a deep relationship with that company because of our typical, not just the AngelAi, but he was extremely happy. He was going to be giving us a lot more of those loans, a lot more business. It was the aspects that he was excited about with the speed, the ease of use, the pricing, and the communication. We not only do we have all this technology, we have communication. We have a good culture. We've got a good, just overall package. And that was what he was most excited about.
Yeah. John, kudos for whipping out your camera, because I'm wanting more of those. I want to share with our audience. A lot of people don't realize. I was with a group of mortgage lenders with them at IMB conference, the Independent Mortgage Bankers Conference here in Austin. And then I flew out to Florida, and I was talking. I belong to a mastermind group, all mortgage bankers and all technology folks. And they're going, "Yeah, but there's no one really has anything out there that's AI, that's end to end, that's really working." And I chuckled and I go, "You guys, I keep telling you, you got to check out AngelAi because it's there." So I'm so grateful that you recorded that testimony. Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I was very thankful that he did it. And he nailed it.
That's a one take. It's a one take.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, I'll give you a little insight into my meeting that day. It was an all-day deal, right, for us.
Right.
Everybody's using AngelAi. And I think that the reason that what you heard is we don't know who has an all-in solution for AI. I hear that too. And I'm like, guys, I have that. We have that. It's such a paradigm shift from the traditional way of doing business. Everyone's used to using an LOS and using a point of sale and all of those traditional. That's what everybody in the industry is familiar with. And so when you show them AngelAi, it's like a mind-blowing experience for them. And it's just people understanding that things are changing and you can do things a different way and getting them used to it. And that's where we're at today. I think
it's an absolute game changer. And I'm so excited about what it's developed, but it's overcoming doubt and disbelief because most people don't realize Pavan's been working on this for 24 plus years. And so it's not a flash of pan something new. It's just been evolving and evolving. So John, if for those that are listening to this and want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for our listeners to reach out to you? And listeners, I do encourage you to do that. John, he is a mortgage professional. You've been in the mortgage industry how many years, John?
30, I think.
32, yeah. 33 years. So you've done a few loans, you know exactly. So you're not like just one of the quote unquote inexperienced salespeople that are out there. Mortgages end to end extremely well. So how can people reach you, John?
My cell phone is the best way always to reach me. My cell phone's 951-219-8362.
Yeah. Well,
my
John,
email is also obviously, it's another option. john.brumund@swmc.com.
Okay. John. And it's BRUMUND at
swmc.com.
All right. Sunwest Mortgage.
I have one more story if you don't mind, David.
Yeah, please. I can't get enough of these stories.
Okay. My sister-in-law recently lost her husband, and that's not really relevant to the
sorry to hear that, though.
Conversation. I wasn't looking for that, but she decided she needed to buy a house for her and her kids. And I sent her the AngelAi link to go online. And keep in mind, my time spent primarily trying to grow production. I don't do a lot of loans. So I sent her the
You're growing the wholesale side of the business, the broker business.
Yeah, wholesale and retail. Do a little bit of head correspondent.
Yeah.
And anyway, I sent her my AngelAi link and I said, hey, Lacey, why don't you go on and try this out and see what you can do? And so she did. She got her loan pre-approved all by herself. We got a pre-approval on a software.
I love it.
By the way, I won't share her financial details, but it's a challenging situation, right? So she goes on, gets her own loan pre-approved, and then called me last Saturday and said, I'm at an open house and I'm going to make an offer on this house.
Oh man.
And so I said, oh, okay. I was a little bit taken aback just because I wasn't ready.
She did it all herself. She did as a consumer with no mortgage experience.
Zero. Totally excited. I'm going to buy a house right now. The agent's here. You want to talk to her? And I said, okay, I'll talk to her. So I talked to the agent. This is a true story. And it was last weekend. And I told her about me and about AngelAi and about SunWest, and she was a little skeptical. Like, okay. So this is Saturday. By Sunday night, she had sent me the offer. The agent sent me the purchase contract, all of the contacts for the loan. I only used AngelAi on this entire transaction, just to be clear. That's an important piece of this message. But I was watching the football games on Sunday, talking to my mom who was here and some family members who were here on my cell phone, copying and pasting the purchase contract and uploading things from my phone to the loan in AngelAi. And I will just skip to the fun part. That loan's ready for docs. That shit was ready for docs yesterday. That's a 1 week. Now we've got a couple of things.
1 week.
Yeah. Pending the appraisal, of course, that's being done right now as we speak. That's not something we can control, but we as a company are ready for docs in a week. And the agent, this is the best part. The agent called me and yesterday I had a meeting with her. She gave me 3 more clients. I've never met this agent in my life. She doesn't know anything about me, doesn't know what I do, doesn't care. She gave me 3 more clients. And by the way, they're all Spanish speaking clients. And SunWest offers bilingual support. So we got somebody that speaks Spanish on the phone and we were able to help her out. It's just an amazing story. I'm so excited about it. I feel like a little kid again.
John, I've been doing this for 51 years and you've been doing it for 33 now. So you sit and look at, it's fun to get excited about something again, John. Because we've been doing the same thing the same way for so long. It just wears you out a little bit, especially when we get fatigued from the process. We're in a new deal. And I can hear Pavan's dogs in the background saying, hey, it's time to get the boss on. Come on. You're talking to John. Get the boss on. John, thanks so much for joining us again. Give us your cell phone and your email one more time if you could do so quickly.
You got it. Cell phone 951-219-8362. Emails John, JOHN, .Brumund, BRUMUND, @SWMC.com.
Very good. John, thanks so much for just coming in impromptu on this.
John, before you go, you said you were watching football. How did the Cowboys do?
Oh, they've been out of it for a long time, buddy.
Yeah.
It was just in the background.
Oh, that's a little rough. That's a little rough.
Yeah, that's rough, Pavan. Come on, buddy.
Yeah. Pavan's sense of humor. That's great. Who are you pulling for in the Super Bowl?
That's a tough question. I'm a Cowboys fan, so you can't like the Eagles.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of seeing the Chiefs in there, but honestly, I don't care. No, I just hope for a good game. I just hope it's a good game.
It should be a good game. It'll be a good game at very least. John, thanks so much for being your friend. Appreciate it very much.
You got it.
Pavan, I love the innovation that you've created. This is one of the things. I was at the IMB conference, and there is an overall optimism returning to the markets that you could sense there, but nothing has really changed. So it's more as a result of this election that there's more hope coming in. So we have a political environment that's dramatically changed. And we also have now, with what you've created, a real chance to reduce costs, slash cost. The average cost to produce a mortgage loan is somewhere between $12,000 and $13,000 in the mortgage industry. 60% of that goes to commission. 40% then goes towards operational costs. And that's still $5,000 plus for the average lender. Your cost is a small percentage of that. Small percentage. Would you mind sharing what your cost is to originate operationally on a wholesale basis?
Yeah, every additional loan we do is only cost like $150.
$150 versus $5,000.
Yeah. And on top of that, obviously you got to add in things like the cost per work number and banks.
You're going to have your third-party operational costs.
Yeah, but we picked that up easily in the fees. It's really the actual cost is only like $150. Yeah.
And then with the underwriting that's in there, how you go about it, you take out fair lending issues, you take out all the issues that are so prevalent, the biases that are in there. Even though people say they're not biased, you've taken all that. We talked about that before in previous podcasts. So listeners, I encourage you to go back and listen to that. I want to pivot over, Pavan, to start talking about all things that are changing. We touched on briefly the political environment. You just read in Yahoo Finance about Chopra being fired. I just read, it was Taylor sent out an information today, an email showing his resignation letter. I didn't know. I thought he was just ending it, but so he got fired is what you read in the headline.
Who knows what's the real news,
right,
these days. But yeah, there was a Yahoo Finance article I just read. That's the headline is Trump fires director of the CFPB. That's the headline. And I quickly read through the article. You take news with a grain of salt, because the other thing interesting that the commentators, which made no sense at all, just total gaslighting the American people. And she credits the run up in real estate and home equity. I think Americans were so lucky under the CFPB director because home values, look how much home values have increased. I was like, come on. I'm not going to say whether I was for or against Chopra. I'm not for or against the CFPB or Trump's actions, but that's just the mainstream media just outright lying to our faces by saying that by crediting home price run up and the growth in home equity of Americans to the CFPB. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. Anyone who's in the industry knows that, and it is gaslighting, and it's just disingenuous. So anyway, yeah, that is for sure. With him out, what are you anticipating? We're seeing, I think part of the thing, first of all, it's interesting that Chopra was hired by Trump initially, was appointed by Trump, and then worked under the Biden administration. He's out. I think this speaks more to just how committed Trump is to making radical changes this time in everything. And so let's start with this part. How do you anticipate the changes that he's making? The Trump's executive orders are being put in effect for the mortgage industry.
If you take his statements at face value, and that's all we have to go by, and he and Elon Musk have said they're going to get rid of the CFPB. And I put out a commentary on this earlier. I'm actually not in favor of getting rid of the CFPB because all that will do is that the states will will create a patchwork of regulations that'll go way beyond the CFPB. And we've gone through CFPB audits before, and they're actually very reasonable people to work with. And the reason means they're smart. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So it's the kind of thing, it's the devil versus the devil you don't, right?
And what's so interesting about that, I was talking to Coop at the MBA at the IMB conference, who works with the states, and they're anticipating a growth of regulation from within at the state level, which is just going to make it so difficult when you're a multi-state lender to have to meet all these things. You'd rather have just one agency, CFPB, to be able to go to and have them be the lead. But unfortunately, that's not going to be the case.
Yeah, he could solve it through, I'm not an expert in constitutional law. Remember, the 10th Amendment says that the federal government, states have the rights to whatever that the federal government doesn't take for itself. So through either congressional law or executive order, the states cannot do X, Y, Z.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
And that would then stop spiral of regulation at the state level. I don't know if that's possible by executive order.
I don't know that he's already getting challenged on one of the executive orders by was it a Vermont judge that put a stay on cutting of funding?
Yes. There was 2 executive orders on that one and then on the birthright citizenship.
Yeah.
It was a Massachusetts judge who put a stay on both. But both of those, if I'm in his position, I would have expected both of those to be challenged, to receive a stay by a lower court. And both executive orders were designed to go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. I think the point of it, we're having unprecedented number of executive orders that are getting carried out, as we're seeing with the deportations that are happening underway and are very highly published. So we're going to see a lot more change. Let's come back and look at, again, the impact of these policies on the mortgage industry. Your opinion?
There's to be seen. Let's see if he's actually able to cut the deficit. Right? If he's actually able to at least stop the growth of the debt. Okay, well, that's a tall order. That means you got to cut $2 trillion out of the budget in order to get there. If he's either you cut $2 trillion or you increase revenue by $2 trillion. One of the two has got to happen.
Yep.
Now
it's going to be both things.
He just collected $1 trillion from Saudi Arabia, which is hilarious, right?
Yes.
It's a shakedown. It's total gangster move. Right? We agreed to $600 million. He goes in World Economic Forum and says, "Now let's make that $1 trillion." That's $250 billion a year. Right? It's something like $50 million a day or something, or whatever, some crazy amount, $50 million an hour or something.
Oh, wow.
They have to pay. So he's tackling the revenue side of the equation. And that move with Saudi Arabia, what it does, it ensures it locks Saudi Arabia down to the dollar. Because remember, a year ago, Saudi Arabia was flirting with China.
They're on BRICS.
To talk about oil trade in yuan, right? And so that was a very expensive meeting because it just cost him $1 trillion.
I smiled at that. I just love the hubris that Trump is doing because he can get more done by threatening a tariff than anyone else has done in all the political aspects of it. But focusing back on the state complexity that this brings. This is a shameless plug for AngelAi, because one of the things that you are able to do so effectively with AngelAi, it doesn't matter what state, how complex it is, you get that in AngelAi, and you can be highly confident that you're doing a compliant loan at any state in which you're doing business. Speak how you've done that, Pavan.
That's it's not just highly confident. There's a warranty that goes with it.
So, I know I was hoping you were going to bring that up. Yeah.
So if AngelAi tells a consumer, like John was just talking about, his sister-in-law, and very complex deal, she's talking to you and is telling her, okay, you have an approval. That if AngelAi got it wrong, I will honor that approval.
It's amazing.
That means I would have ended up with a loan on my balance sheet as scratch and debt.
Yeah.
So I'm more than willing and happy to take that risk because that risk is almost zero. And in the last almost 36 months has not happened.
Yeah. That's a great confidence statement, but literally get down a little bit into the weeds. I want people to hear a little bit of how, because we're trying to overcome this doubt and disbelief that your system could do that. Most people go, I don't buy it. I don't believe you. I get that a lot. And they say, Lykken, we trust you. We know you to be a credible guy, but you're drinking some Kool-Aid right now, Lykken. And this AngelAi Kool-Aid. And I go, but it works. It really does.
Yeah. That's the reason why it's an open platform. That's why we leave it out there. And if it was a closed platform, I could see that. If there was a paywall in front of it or you had to sign contracts to use it, but it's a complete open platform. So anybody who doubts it, go and try it out for yourself.
Oh, try it out. Yeah.
And we have brokers doing it all the time. First-time brokers never says, I don't believe it. They'll go drop in income documents, tax returns, whatever, and then get the answers and the analysis back right away. And they're blown away. And that's just the power of the technology. How we did it, remember, we rolled this out in 2018. It was the end of 2018. And we did the first loan through it into it. And we've been building it for like decades, literally 20 plus years, actually 30 years, because I talked about this in one of our prior podcasts. The core algorithm is what makes it all work is this algorithm I designed in the 90s, which I didn't patent, so now it remains a trade secret. Changing one vector, you propagate through the vector space and you adjust everything else. And that's the core fundamentals of a neural net is you change a value here and then you have to propagate through the network. And I create this algorithm where it does that almost instantaneously. And that's the core engine. And that's why the whole engine, you can change something like a loan amount, or you could change whatever, down payment or income qualifying or whatever. And you could have all this stuff change at the same time. And they're so complex, like other systems, they have to lock everything down, right? Lock everyone else out of it to do one change at a time.
Yeah.
Right? Because each of those changes are like this complex vectors in this 100-dimensional vector space. And if you change, you could change them all at the same time and it would just automatically find the best fit of the fabric in that space. And that's the center of the algorithm. So unless you know how to do that, you will never get an AI on mortgages or finance to ever work.
Well, we just saw a publication or a press release come out by one of the leading mortgage lenders saying he's investing $100 million into AI. And you are obviously worrying some of the biggest lenders out there when they have to put out these kind of press releases. And I chuckle at it because you've been at this for now, you say 30 years. I think I know for 24 years. And you are, they don't understand the complexity. They don't have these algorithms that you're talking about, the core engine that you've created. And I wish them all well. We need more competition and we always welcome it, but it's just not, it's a press release. It's so full of hot air. I'm not to be disparaging, but anyway.
I suspect he got the $100 million number from me as well, because that's the number I was asked in a couple of conferences, roughly how much did you spend on this? And I guesstimate about $100 million I spent over the last 2 decades on building this. So I put that number out there and then he puts out a press release that's equivalent. So that's
that tells me that you got some lenders out there that are going, we better speak up or else we're going to lose market share. So anyway, kudos to you. Let's talk about some of the things you're seeing. You're traveling. You were just in Davos. How did that go? How was that trip?
Davos was fantastic. Just amazing working. We did a lot of family offices, met with some of the original investors.
When you say family offices, explain to our listeners what you mean by that. I know what that means.
Family offices are like basically high net worth families. And then they created what they call a family office, which is their investment arm.
Yeah, they invest.
It could be the biggest producer of whatever widget. And they have, and they've over generations, they've had a lot of money and now they investment arm. Now they make more money investing their money than they do and actually whatever the core business was that made them money.
Yeah.
So like, for example, I met with the original first round investors in XAI, excited. Their money like tripled or whatever in 6 months. So those are the kind of people we're meeting, and everyone's really like interested in what we're doing, because the stuff that we're doing with AngelAi is things that NVIDIA and OpenAI is talking about that maybe will be ready in another 12, 24 months. And we have it ready today. That's the magic. And when we talk about why we're doing it and other people aren't doing it, other people have built AI for the purpose of trying to create artificial general intelligence, right? Like a human mimicking. Okay. And so those guys have natural limitations. They're not designed to solve these kind of specific problems. Okay. So one of the things that LLMs do, large language models, things like ChatGPT or Facebook Llama, or even DeepSeek, is they hallucinate. That means they'll make up stuff.
Yep.
Because they're just guessing at the next word. So you can't make up a loan approval, right? You can't make up conditions. You can say David Lykken wants a loan for $1 million. He works 3 jobs and makes $200,000 a month. What are the conditions? You can't just have it just start making up conditions.
Yeah.
You can try that ChatGPT. It'll probably create a bunch of conditions for you. Some of them make sense. Some of them won't make sense.
Yeah.
You can't give ChatGPT a paycheck and say, what's the qualifying income for this? It's not going to understand that. That's a whole different kind of thing. And the whole premise of how AngelAi works, that the model is our own foundational model. We're not using one of the existing models. it's a custom neural net built from scratch. We have over 70 patents on this thing, right? It's not
770.
right? Seven
Wow.
awarded and 60, almost 70 pending and very close to being awarded in the final stages. So it's not like something that someone's going to be able to easily replicate. Maybe the Chinese will hack in and steal it. because that's what the latest news is, that they built DeepSeek by stealing the output of OpenAI. So famous for reverse engineering. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's talk about that, because we watched when the NVIDIA stock just take a dive this week on the announcement of China coming out. We also saw DeepSeek, and now we just saw a headline come out either today or yesterday saying any government employees that are working on government projects cannot use any open source AI. What are the risks, or what are they trying to make sure doesn't happen? Is it that hallucination factor that they're concerned about?
I think the government memo was they can't use DeepSeek or a foreign AI.
Or is it a foreign AI? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought it said, but
Okay.
I'll have to double check that.
Yeah. It's hallucination. I'm one of the ones that I use is proximity. And I got challenged at one of the conferences I spoke at. In fact, it was the one that you and I were going to speak at together up in New England. It was Brian Levy who said, Dave, I've used that and it hallucinated and created things that should not have been said. So he gave a good warning about some of this, and we need to be looking at, which is encouraging because it means that humans are still going to be very much in control of this, what's getting processed and put out there yet.
And look, we figured it out. Right? We figured out how to get AI to not hallucinate and to do very complex algorithmic work, right? To read documents and to figure out what the data means and do the calculations and so forth. We figured out, we set up the structure. It works. It's been working for years. Okay. So other people figure out the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? They obviously won't be able to do it the way we do it because without stepping on our patents, but there's always more than one way to skin a cat. We're not delusional. No one else is going to figure this out. They will figure it out. I just don't think it'll be people out of the tech industry. I don't think it's going to be people out of the mortgage industry.
Yeah. So a lot of people listening to this, and going back to your comment that you met with some of the families that are the family offices that are looking to make investments, you've already paid for this. And so what is the reason, if you won't mind me asking, you're wanting to or considering having these conversations with someone investing in AngelAi?
It's all exploratory. There's not a need driving it.
Yeah, that's the most important part. You own this free and clear, 100%.
It's completely free and clear. No debt, no nothing.
No PE money involved in that. That's such an important.
No venture capital money. And we're right now in a global expansion. And that does take a lot of partners to make that happen.
Right.
Sometimes you'll bring in a partner just to bring in the network. That's so much for the money. So we're in conversations with banks in Saudi Arabia now, with banks in UAE. I just came back from Japan and locked up a really major deal in Japan.
That's where I was going to go. I just talk about that deal because this starts getting everyone's focused. Are they going to privatize Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac now? Is that going to happen? And we all get myopically focused. That is the only solution that ever will be. Talk about another solution that you're going to be hopefully bringing to the capital markets.
Yes. And this is what gets the family offices and the broader investment community so excited about Angel, is that it delivers on the promise. It delivers the promise of AI and the promise of blockchain all together in one package. Okay. So if you think about how the capital markets work, is you have the guys with money, there's insurance companies, family investors, or individual people, right? And then they have to go, so they have money, they're going to put it into an investment vehicle or investment fund, right? And then that investment fund is going to then invest in a REIT, who's then going to work with mortgage bankers and banks to source product and so forth. So it washes through 4 or 5 hands to finally get to the source where the money's going to get deployed in is a homeowner buying a house. So that money, that money in Japan coming from that insurance company is going to go through 5 hands before it goes to the homeowner that buys that.
To the homeowner, yeah.
Buys that non-QM, buys that house. And the reason it goes through so many layers, and then you got rating agencies involved and all this kind of stuff in the middle. The reason it goes through so many layers is because the person with the money who wants to invest it, and he knows the risk profile of the US dollar, he knows the risk profile of a US mortgage. He's like, yeah, I want that risk and I want that yield. So he knows what he wants, but he doesn't have any way of controlling it. So he has to go through all these layers. Okay. But what we offered him, we gave them, it says, look, you just plug into AngelAi. Okay. So you have $1 million to invest. You tell AngelAi, I've got $1 million. This is the product I want to invest in. I want this product to go into Main Street America. And I want to invest it in a working class family in America who's going to buy their first home. I want a credit score over 720 and I want LTV below 80%, whatever it is that you want, whatever risk profile you want. Okay. You just tell the AI and the AI will source and deliver to that. So your money goes straight to that person. Right? So what that means is better yield for the investor, greater transparency. They know exactly where their money is going, and better interest rates, lower cost for the homeowner. It's literally the AI and the blockchain backbone can literally connect a homeowner on Main Street, US with anybody in the world who's got money to invest in him. It creates this marketplace that never existed before.
That starts getting exciting because you take out all the people that had their hands out or were involved in the process. You literally take them all out.
Yeah, I think Namor is going to have a hit on me soon.
I don't think so. I hope not. But everyone's looking for innovation. This administration is looking for innovation. Vivek, you know him personally, and have been involved with him. And he's with Doge. He has been with Doge. I mean, I think he's now going off and doing some other things and pulled in another direction. But we need this kind of innovation in our industry, bringing new capital markets. And what you're doing with the money out of Japan is, how much money are we talking about? Is it a little drop in the bucket or is it significant?
No, the first round is $100 million of equity. And by the end of the year, it'll probably grow to $1 billion.
To $1 billion.
Yeah. Right. And that's unlevered. Right. So this will be a huge fund.
Wow. What are some of the other developments that you're seeing out there? One of the things, listeners, Pavan is sending me, texting me almost daily, multiple times throughout the day. Look at this video. Look at that. There's so much going on in science, just generally, so much new knowledge. You're talking about holograms. You sent me one of holograms this morning I watched, and it was like, oh my gosh, it's just reinventing everything about, we're rethinking and thinking differently about virtually everything, whether it be economics, it's whether physics or every aspect of science. As we wrap this up, give us some of the other things that you're really excited about that you see changing.
Well, that's a big question. One of the things I'm really excited about, I think there'll be a cure for cancer is just right around the corner.
Wow.
The breakthroughs now, especially with AI, doing protein modeling and all that, is just around the corner. In fact, Bill Gates and Larry Ellison were talking about using AI to generate vaccines to actually immunize you against cancer. The Russians came out with a cure for cancer, they're claiming.
We'll see. Yeah. I'm sorry if Bill Gates is behind it. I'm not sticking a needle into my arm with anything that Gates is behind. I see what he did with Moderna and all the others, and I'm not a fan of him.
I'm not a fan of him either. We'll see if his name comes out on the Epstein list.
Yeah, exactly right. There's a lot of things coming out that are going to be popping up, blowing a lot of people's mind and what we understood.
And by the way, that's not a rumor. That's his own ex-wife screaming at him about that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot yet to be revealed. There's going to be a fast evolving world.
So I just got back from Davos. It's really interesting. I think from a political front, the mood was very surreal almost, because most of the big shots at Davos were tied to the old regime, right? Tied to the left of center culture. So there was a certain mood there that there was like, okay, this is the new reality. There's an acceptance of the new reality of the Trump world order. So that was really interesting. And also I was
so that was really evident there. So it was not, there's still not the old mindset that has gone, you say.
I think
or changing.
I think they've accepted.
Okay.
It was
accepted. One thing is you can accept it. Another thing is embrace it. You know what I mean?
We'll see. I think we're just in the first, not even in the first inning of this
government. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there's going to be resistance. In different ways. But the mood of Davos is the one has changed. Let's go. Let's just accept reality. Let's try to make money on this new structure.
Yeah.
So that's the general mood. What actually happens, we'll see. And I was on a panel. I posted this video. It was the former ambassador to Switzerland was on the panel. It was actually the previous ambassador who was appointed by Trump. Great guy. It was just really deep, insightful conversation. But one of the things he said that really stood out And you can go back and watch that on my LinkedIn channel. He said that there was a question about where do you see growth in the world? Where do you see what are the future frontiers, right? And then, so he said, oh, Africa is a continent of the future, and which I agree with. And it is. Africa is like bigger than North America and Europe and Russia.
It's been so exploited. Yes, exactly right. Yeah.
And it was funny because he talked about how there's so much potential there. And he defined potential in Africa as a source of raw materials and minerals and so forth. And I was like, okay. And then right after him, there was a gentleman who spoke who was a senior diplomat from Africa. And he went up there and in a very nice way, told the ambassador, no, man, you ain't coming to Africa to exploit our minerals.
Yeah.
We're looking for a partnership. We're going to do this together. This isn't colonial times anymore. We're going to all build the world together. So that was interesting. One of the things that we presented, the key thing we presented at the World Economic Forum at multiple sessions. And one of the sessions I spoke at, we had something like 40,000 or 80,000 people across Europe watching this session. It was being live streamed. And what I explained was, if you look at the world has gone through a couple of different stages. And I don't know if you've heard the term Web3. So we're now in the Web3 economy, which is blockchain. Web2 was the single sign-on with Google and Facebook controlling everything. And Web1 was Netscape in the early 90s, with just basic stuff. Okay, so we're in Web3 for commerce and global integration from technology perspective. But what I'm doing with AngelAi is we're in globalization 3.0. All right, so let's talk about what globalization 3.0. Globalization 1.0 was the awful results of slavery and colonization across the world, and create just all that did was spread disease and poverty everywhere. Globalization 2.0 was a little better. It was more of a trade, but it was a one-sided trade where essentially a few mega corporations exploited cheap labor resources across the world. And that's globalization 2.0. And that hurt people on both, hurt the common man on both sides of that trade. The factory worker in the Midwest in America, or the factory worker in China or wherever else, right? Everyone's being exploited. Right? But a few corporations are winning. Okay. So now we're in globalization 3.0, which I think is really the solution, and which is blockchain-based economy, which is AI-based economy. Everyone, all of us have direct access to trade with anybody else in the world. So that's what blockchain does. Unless a small producer, whether it's a small shop in Erie, Indiana, to a small shop, to a village in Africa, whatever product they're producing, they can trade.
They can take it to market.
They can take it to market globally, and their
That's
twin.
so interesting. Yeah.
And your twin, which is what we'll be officially launching on March 14th, your twin can communicate in any language to any market, anywhere in the world, and sell your product and explain your product. So those are like the big things that are happening. And the whole notion of markets, of corporations, I think we're going from centralization, Web2 centralization. You have a couple of big companies that own your data, that today own your data, that own identity. And let's destroy that and let you own your own.
Yeah, that gets back to the tokens where you own it in a token.
So you own it in a token, you own it.
Secure wallet. Yeah.
Your own secure wallet, and it's your twin that's owned and powered and controlled by you. And that's what we're launching on March 14th, is the Angel Twin project and the Angel Twin token.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'm so looking forward to it. Yes. The Angel Twin. You said at one of the conferences where we were to gather at, and you were speaking, you said, imagine you taking more applications than you ever dreamt of, and you're on the beach in Puerto Rico or your favorite beach, wherever, enjoying your own private time. And it's your Angel Twin that is actually out there doing the work and interacting through the AI. We're entering a new world.
It's your twin can do literally everything you can do. It's learning from you every single as you interact with it. And it can talk and interact and have the same emotional responses that you have with your customers and build the same relationships.
Yeah.
And not just for you as the loan officers watching this or as realtors watching this, but it's you as the local pizza maker, the local dry cleaner, or the repair shop or whatever, right? Because everyone needs to interchange with your customers, with your partners, with your vendors. And let's get that business done by your AI. And let's you focus on being innovative, right? And loading your innovation into your wallet, right? Not in somebody else's wallet, but into your wallet. And those innovations remain.
That's such an exciting concept where you get to own virtually everything instead of it being in a data center, which is the distribution. I'm seeing that so much more. I was just in Florida at a new technology event about talking about power and how we're going to be distributing, the big power grids where we've had so much struggle with, and are antiquated and beyond belief. We're going into a new world. It's just very exciting. Pavan, I always love it. Is anything else new and exciting out there that you want to share with our listeners?
One other interesting World Economic Forum story I'll tell you. So I was having the last night I had dinner where it was an event that Jamie Dimon was speaking at. I left before Jamie came because I just got tired. I was like, enough of this.
Yep.
Go home, get some sleep. But the lady I sat next to, she's amazing, just amazing lady. She's one of probably the largest exporter of wine from Italy. She exports 1 million bottles of wine a year.
Wow.
Italian wine. Right. And that's the reason to go to these things, that you get to network with interesting people. And so she was talking about how each wine bottle has its own personality, and she has different spokespeople, different charities that each line is associated with, and so forth. I said, you know what? What if we made a twin for each wine bottle? And so if the customer, when they're looking at the wine, they can just take the smartphone on the AngelAi app, take a picture of the label. And from there, the representative, the spokesperson for that wine, the twin
of that particular bottle,
can start talking to you, and you can say, who grew it? Let me talk to the vineyard and the owner of the vineyard. Let me talk to the guy who picked the grapes. Right? And all of those people you can start having a conversation with all the people along the supply chain that went into making that wine bottle. She's just ecstatic. So we're already getting the process going so that every one of our wine bottles will have a twin.
Wow.
And at the same time, you're having a conversation with the wine bottle. And as you're having that conversation with the wine bottle, your twin is learning about you and is going into your vault. So now it's learning what kind of wine you like and what you think about, what's your priorities. And maybe if you bought a $10,000 bottle of wine, maybe it's going to say, I think you need to get a mortgage to pay for that wine bottle.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm chuckling as I hear you talking to wine bottles. Many of us were in college. There was many a time we drank too much and we're talking to a wine bottle or whoever, with some other inanimate objects. Pavan, I love what you built with AngelAi. I encourage people to get over their doubt and disbelief, or keep your doubt and disbelief, but don't sit and be ignorant and miss out. And it's like saying, I don't believe that planes can fly. I don't believe a 747, a multi-tonnage vehicle, can get up in the air and actually go all the way across the world. Because you don't believe it, you'll get on one. You got to get on board with AngelAi. It's free to use. It's free. You're crazy not to get on. Go to angelai.com to understand it, learn more about it. Go to askangel.ai to actually use it. Have I got that right, Pavan?
Askangel.ai, that is perfect. Got that right.
Yeah. Pavan, I always enjoy my time with you. I appreciate you taking time to again so we can share some hot, fresh off the press information out to our listeners this week.
Thank you, David.